You're looking for a guitar that feels like it's already lived a few decades, that slides into a jam without you having to spend a weekend dialing in the tone, and that actually delivers that vintage vibe without emptying your wallet. That hesitation wondering if you'll end up with a pretty box that sounds like a cheap copy or a relic that needs constant tweaking is exactly why I dug into the details of the Fender Vintera I road-worn 60-second Stratocaster in Lake Placid Blue before I hit record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest question most people have is, does this really capture that 60s Strat feel, or is it just a paint job with modern parts? Fender's Vintera line is built around reproducing the look and feel of specific eras, and this model leans heavily into the road-worn aesthetic that was common on touring guitars back then: faded paint, worn-down pickguard, and a neck that has been sanded down to a comfortable C shape. The result is a guitar that looks like it's been on the road for years, but you won't have to worry about hidden repairs because it's brand new. The construction is classic Fender: a solid alder body, a maple neck, and a rosewood fingerboard. Those woods are exactly what you'd expect from a 60s Strat, and they give you the resonance that players talk about when they describe that warm, open tone. The road-worn finish actually helps the instrument sit in a room faster. I've taken a couple of my own Strats through the same process. New guitars need a few weeks of playing to break in the wood and hardware, but this one sounded ready to go right out of the case. If you've ever bought a new Strat and found it a little bright or sterile at first, you'll appreciate that this model lands in the sweet spot of vintage-style warmth without the need for a long break-in period. Now, let's talk electronics. Fender equipped this Strat with what they label as vintage-style pickups, a split-coil humbucker in the neck position and single coils at the middle and bridge. The split coil is essentially a Strat-style single coil split in half, delivering a bit more output and a fatter tone without turning the whole guitar into a full humbucker. In practice, that means you can get classic glassy cleans that sit nicely behind a crunchy overdrive, and you still have that chime on the bridge that made the 60s Strat famous. I tried a blues shuffle, a clean country lick, and a high-gain rock riff in a small rehearsal space, and each time the pickups behaved exactly as you'd expect from a vintage-inspired setup: no sudden hiss, no loss of note definition. Hardware reliability is another point where the Vintera II shines. The bridge is a vintage-style 6-point tremolo that feels sturdy enough for subtle vibrato but won't dive into the tuning disaster zone when you go hard. The tuning machines are Fender's standard sealed tuners, which are smoother than the older, open-gear versions but still retain enough bite to stay in tune through a gig. I was a little skeptical about the road-worn finish on the metal part. Sometimes manufacturers cut corners there, but the bridge and knobs all feel solid, and after a full day of playing, the guitar stayed in tune without any weird slipping. Who should actually buy this? If you're a player who loves the look and feel of a 60s Strat but can't justify dropping $1,500 on a genuine vintage instrument, this is a solid middle ground. It's also a great choice for gigging musicians who want an instrument that looks lived in and can handle a variety of styles without swapping gear. The neck shape is comfortable for both chording and fast single-note runs, so it works for rhythm players and lead players alike. And because the pickup configuration gives you a broad tonal palette, you won't need a rack of pedals just to get the sounds you're after. On the flip side, this isn't the right pick for someone who wants a pure modern Strat with ultra-fast, flat riser necks and high-output humbuckers. If you play a lot of metal or heavily compressed genres that demand aggressive pickup response, you might find the split coil and single coils a little too restrained. Also, because the guitar leans into the vintage vibe, it doesn't have the sleek, glossy finish that some newer players prefer for stage aesthetics. It's a bit of a love-it-or-leave-it look, and if you're after a bright, brand-new finish, the road-worn paint might feel like a compromise. One practical weakness that's worth noting is the weight. Alder is a solid, resonant wood, but it does add a few extra ounces compared to a lightweight ash body. In a long set, you might feel that extra heft, especially if you're used to a slimmer contoured body. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if you have shoulder pain from extended playing. Another point is the neck radius. It stays true to the 60s standard of a 7.25-inch radius. Modern players often prefer a flatter radius for easier